The Nerdosphere is brought to you by patrons, just like David Salvaggio and Darren Primer. Find out how you can support the Nerdosphere and become a part of the community by visiting patreon.com/thenerdosphere. There you can view all of our different tiers and perks available to all of our patrons. Again, thank you to our producers, Darren Primer and David Salvaggio. Hello and welcome to the Nerdosphere. I'm one of your hosts, Clayton, joined as always by the biggest palate this side of the Mississippi, COVID Bane, Corbin.
Hello!
I guess I should have put a user in front of that with your dual disc, dork. Also joined by soon to not be Miss Me with all that anime and Hamilton Stan, Tim.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, dude?
I'm just distracted by watching that beautiful movie in the background right now.
For those who are audio only, Corbin has Tron playing in the background of his view screen on this video podcast, which is a good segue into talking about what our topic will be tonight. We have finally some somewhat concrete news that Tron 3, which has been in development limbo for many, many years, is finally officially in development. And we're going to talk about that tonight because it's interesting. So, before we get into all of that, if you didn't know, this is the Nerdosphere. We're a podcast that discusses... God damn it.
So many Tron toys right
Corbin's like slowly putting all these Tron collectibles on his chest and holding them like he's
because I'm not
holding
happy.
his babies in a tornado or something. He's upset. But if you didn't know, this is the Nerdosphere. We're a podcast that discusses the big screen to the silver screen and anything in between, whether it's books, movies, shows, music, you name it. If you can nerd out about it, we're going to talk about it. So, before we talk about it, what's going on, guys?
Not too much. The masks are really damaging my facial hair, and it's pissing me off.
It's a problem.
The society is gonna have to die from COVID because my mustache is too important.
You look like shit.
Hey,
Every time I see you, you get a little uglier. And it's got to be from the mask. It's got to be the mask.
I'm glad you brought this up, Corbin, because I had a story that I wanted to talk about when we recorded, and I would have forgotten if you hadn't brought it up. So today, I took our grandpa, me and Corbin's grandpa, to the doctor. He had knee replacement surgery. He's doing really well. He's 2 weeks out. Doctors are saying he's basically further along than people who are 6 weeks out. Really pleased with his progress. Blah, blah. Point is, had to drive him over to Perryville, which is like 30 minutes, 45 minutes away. I had to run into Perryville Walmart because...
another Walmart story with your mask? Were you wearing glasses this time, like last time?
Well,
Is this the same story?
This is not the same story. But I did have sunglasses on, and this is not part of the story. But I did have my sunglasses on, and when I put my mask on, guess what happened? My sunglasses fogged up.
Yep. Happened to me today, too.
You have to pinch to create an exhaust port for the bridge.
Dude, you can pinch. I didn't wear my cloth mask. I wore a medical mask. And I pinched just like you said. Guess what happened?
Still fogged.
Still fogged.
I'm about to go get me
But
a
that's
mask.
neither here nor
But that's just
there.
so no one has to see my
Point
mustache.
is, I had to go into Perryville Walmart because my wife, who's a pharmacy tech at Fredericktown Walmart, was like, hey, can you stop by and pick up some extra lids? Because we're out of lids. We were having to fill stuff without lids. Not really without lids, but they're filling small bottles with big bottles because they're out of small bottle lids. So I go into Perryville Walmart like a wonderful husband I am, saving Walmart hours and mileage by going in myself. Anyways, I'm walking in behind this lady and her family. Husband's wearing a mask. 2 kids, no mask. They're little kids, though. You know, they're not going to be able to wear a mask. Wife, no mask. I'm putting my mask on as they're walking through the door. Walmart greeter, ma'am, would you like to wear a mask? Because they have free masks. They're asking, requiring in quotes, because they're not legally allowed to require you, but they strongly want you to.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to wear a mask, please? I have one right here. She says, no, I have a medical condition, to which point I laugh out loud because I think I'm watching a comedy sketch on TikTok. She turns and looks at me, and I just walk by her.
She almost Karen'd on you.
Oh, man. She was carrying on the dude. Then, as I'm walking in, this dude who's 25 probably is on one of those scooters, Walmart provided scooters, and he's driving it from the entrance around to like the self-checkouts, like towards the exit. And this old dude goes, "Get off that thing. You don't need that." And the kid goes, "My brother, who only has one leg, does, and he's out in the car. I'm taking this out to him. Thanks, though." And then continues to drive to the exit. And the old man just kind of like looks at him, like keeps looking at him. All this happened as I'm walking in.
My brother, who only has one leg, does. Thanks, though.
And he wasn't lying, because by the time, it only took me a minute to get the box of lids and then walk out. Dude with one leg's driving him with the scooter.
I feel like most old people in that situation, they are too proud to just be like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah,
that
no,
was stupid.
he was not. He was still like staring him down, and he kind of was like doing the kind of like, I'm not saying anything, but I'm trying to say something, kind of stutter motion. Like he's trying to think of like, what am I going to say now, because I'm still like displeased with you.
Yeah.
He goes
like,
up to the guy and he's like,
"So your brother's
you really
lazy?"
missing that leg?
Right, yeah. Well, where'd he lose the leg?
Oh, God.
Anyways.
Dude, the masks are crazy. We went to church the other day. It's the first time we've gone back to church since COVID hit. And they are kind of like Walmart. They're asking you to wear a mask. They're doing a really good job with social distancing, but they're really insisting you wear a mask while everybody's singing, which makes sense. And it's amazing how many people will put the mask on when the usher walks by, and then the usher like turns their back and goes the other way, and they like look at each other and then drop the mask down like they're badasses. And I'm like, you're in freaking church right now. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I bet it sounds like
people at church are so. We could have maybe we should do a Nerd Tea podcast.
We probably should.
Church going, because
I will say
it's interesting.
I miss the old
I know, Tim,
women.
you've gone to church since high school, right? Like you started really going to church in high school, I think.
Yeah, I had a spurt in high school where I really went, and then I came to Columbia for college and didn't go. And then when Jody got pregnant with Cammie, we started going religiously.
Yeah.
And we've been going most Sundays for probably 8 years now.
Yeah. And then me and Corbin
You'll see some stuff.
Yeah. And as most people who listen probably know, we brought it up before, me and Corbin are not only pastor's kids, but grand pastor's kid and great grand pastor's kid.
We GGPKs. GG.
We, suffice to say, church was a big part of our lives growing up, and still really is. I mean, we go basically every Sunday. So
there is something interesting about church women, that as they get older, their dogs get smaller and whiter, their hair gets shorter and poofier.
I think that's just old women in general.
And their vibrato goes from Asda to Asda, dear panteth for the waters to my soul, get after thee.
It's true. They make up for their loss in singing skill with the vibrato.
They're like, I can't hold a note, so I'm just gonna hit every note around it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, with masks.
Oh shit.
Oh man.
That should be a nerd tea right there. Just Corbin singing, just different characters for the entire episode.
For those who are confused in the audience, Nerd Tea is our patron exclusive podcast that any patron can listen to If you're subscribed to us over at patreon.com/Nerdosphere, it's a podcast where we just talk about whatever. We talk about things. It's kind of the running gags. We say we talk about things. So if that interests you, check it out. Topics like church going, scary stories. I think tonight we're going to record something about poop.
Which reminds me, I have a poop story to tell. I meant to tell it when Dagan was on, but
we had a great stretch, Clayton. A great stretch.
As the icebreaker. I meant to tell it last time, but I got distracted by the towel story.
Yeah, well, last time we hit a nice overall time of the podcast of an hour and like 8 minutes.
It was great.
It was awesome.
Okay, so as many
and now
of you know,
you're gonna drag us into the hour and a half area. I can feel it.
No,
because this is gonna start something.
No, stop. So,
I won't.
as many of you all know, I have been someone who is a member of the commando community and have been for probably at this point like 10 years. Like, I just don't wear underwear. I hate it. I'm a sweater, and so having less fabric in that area is just it's perfect. And when you wear gym shorts,
I'm gonna interject.
It's really nice.
I'm gonna interject really quick because my friend Tim Bergen, not you, Tim, but my other friend Tim, he is also commando only, and he brags about not having to buy underwear, saving money because he's frugal, like you, Tim.
I still buy undies though.
But his horror story, which is what turned him to this, is that I met him at Walmart. He's an assistant manager when I started. He had used to be a co. They moved, and anyway, he was working on a day not unlike today, an August day that was above 90 degrees, humid as if. Working outside in a portable storage container, moving stuff around, and he got so sweaty that his boxers were drenched and they started to seep through his dress pants, and he said it looked like he had put dress pants over like wet swimming trunks. He said that's kind of what it looked like. And he said somebody came out and like said something about it and kind of poked fun at him, and that was the last time he wore boxers. He never wore boxers again. But my counter to that always is, like, I wore a button down shirt today, short sleeve shirt, thin because it's hot. I was sweating through that shirt. Now, if I had worn an undershirt, I would not have been sweating through my outer shirt. So, as somebody who sweats easily, and I know, Corbin, you're the same, how do you prevent sweat puddles from being in your shorts?
I'm glad you asked this question, but I also want to state to the record that this is derailing my poop story. So maybe my poop stories aren't what pushes to an hour and a half. It's that my poop stories inspire conversation. Anyways, so I'm glad you asked this question because you would think that, yes, the less layers you have, the more exposed your sweat dribbles are, which sometimes it can be the case. Like, you'll notice like, oh, there's a spot. But generally, because there's less material, one, it takes less time to get to the copious amounts of sweat that I normally do. So I used to be an undershirt guy too, and I can't. What I decided to do is I upgraded to clinical strength deodorant so I don't get pit stains, and I don't wear undershirts anymore either because I need to be almost as close to naked as possible without being naked whenever it's hot outside.
What about back sweat, chest sweat?
So listen up, fam. I'm about to give you some life hacks on how
leg sweat, ball sweat,
on how you too can become a commando like me. It's all about ventilation, right? Like, one, you have to now stop.
What if you sit in the car for 45 minutes?
Let me say what I need to say, please. Okay. For starters, you have to be a little cognizant of the weather, right? Like, if it's a 98-degree day with 85% humidity, I'm not wearing my white shorts. I'm just not going to. I'm smarter than that. If it's like 80 degrees, I'll wear my white shorts. But what I always do, and this, I liken it to how women are always allowed to fix their bras and shit, and no one thinks twice about it. But the moment that like a guy touches his groin, it's like, ew, what are you doing? Stop touching that penis. It's a menace to society. So what I do, instead of touching my pee-pee, I take the leg of my shorts, and I just wiggle it real quick. It creates an upward draft. And I mean, it's the same way as like whenever you take like the back of your shirt and you just like wiggle it a little bit, and it like creates ventilation in your back. It's the same concept, but for your like your groin region, so you don't get swamp booty. But that's what I do. I just if I'm walking around, I take the end of my shorts by my fingertips and I wiggle them around, and it creates a draft. And that's how I stay cool.
Commando sounds terrible when you wear blue jeans. It sounds like the worst.
Now, I will say, when it comes to it's actually been legitimately a year and a half since the last time I wore pants at all. That's partially because as I get like I'm kind of chunky right now, so like I get hot more easily.
He's one of those douchebags that wears shorts
during the winter.
Yeah.
Like when it's snowing outside, I wear shorts.
There's always that one douche.
That's me.
And Corbin is the one.
But even when it came to wearing like jeans ever since I came out, which was like, I don't know, when I was like 21, I only wear like the athletic flex skinny jeans, which are like, they're not real jeans anyways. So since I've been Commando, I've not worn traditional jeans because the jeans that I wear are like a stretchy material.
Those jeans for me are I have to wear a belt with those jeans because they make their way down.
You just pull them up. If girls do it with their leggings, you can do it too. Normalize the stigma. Guys can fix their garments as well.
I'm not saying you can't fix it. I'm just saying it's annoying as fuck.
But yeah, I have to pull it up too. I can identify with that.
You ever have a zipper accident?
No.
Never?
Never.
I'd be terrified of that.
Why would you be terrified?
I don't know.
Why wouldn't you be terrified? This should be on your mind.
Keep it orderly. I know where it's at. You tuck it in and you zip.
You've never had to go so bad?
What if there's a dude? Okay, let's combine what I'm about to say with what Tim just said. You got to go so bad. You rush in. You quick down, zip. Big weird dude comes up right next to you, and you're like, I got to get out of here. Like your mind is like, I got to pee so bad. And then you're at the same time, I got to get out of here. Whoop. Accidents happen. Accidents always happen.
No. Your
camera flipped, by the way.
Yeah, Brahms is looking real cute.
We don't care.
Okay. People can wait. I'm never rushed when I'm in the bathroom. If you're behind me, fuck you. Like,
no, I'm talking
47 minutes later.
Piss yourself. I don't care. I staked my claim. You gotta wait, boy. So yeah. I'm never rushed to finish my business.
Corbin's got me there. If there's one person who doesn't care about what anybody else thinks as far as how long he's in the bathroom, it's this kid right here.
Man, pooping in public is the worst.
It's in there worst. Forever.
I learned from a young age that you can get out of a lot of things by just having a long poop.
At the end of dinner, like every night.
I used to be called sploosh. Dad used to call me sploosh.
Used to call him
because
sploosh.
If I took too long, Dad would be like, Corbin! And then I would flush the toilet and come out.
Or he'd walk by and give like a knock. You all right in there? And then you hear kapoosh. Because he's just fucking sitting in there.
But what did you do when you were a kid? Like, it makes sense as an adult because you have your phone in there.
He would go in there and just sit.
You read stuff.
He would wait until I was done with all the dishes after dinner, and somebody got on to him for being in the bathroom for so long to come out.
You would take the myriad of Grandmama's air fresheners, and you say, "What exactly is in cinnamon?" Why? How is this aerosol can different from
I will say,
Oceanic
Corbin,
breeze?
That if you hadn't developed this habit, you probably wouldn't have developed innate fears from my attempts to scare you while you were in the bathroom for so long.
My fears from Aunt Sadie were far deeper rooted than your little games, big brother. So anyways, back to my story. So as many of you
Tonight's
know,
topic
I am a member of the Commando community. But not everyone in my life is aware of this. And I was working one night at the pharmacy, and one of the floor managers came back and goes, "Where's your drawers?" And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Where's your drawers?" And I was like, I don't. Why are you asking? I started getting paranoid because I was like, maybe my ass is hanging on my scrubby bottoms. I forget to tuck in my undershirt or something. Like, I feel like everything is where it should be, but I don't know. And I was like, why are you asking? He's like, I know what you did. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I don't wear underwear. And he goes, what? I was like, I don't wear underwear. What are you talking about? He was like, oh, I thought he basically was accusing me that, jokingly, but he walked into the bathroom and someone left their destroyed poopy underwear on the floor of the bathroom in the public stall. And so he was like jokingly like coming up to me to like be like, where's your underwear? Literally, no, I wasn't wearing my underwear, so I could have been the culprit. But someone had just defecated themselves and left their underwear, not even that had the decency to put in the trash can. It was left in the middle of the bathroom. It was like, I failed, and then left. Which also immediately reminded me of the time where Nick, who was on our Harry Potter podcast, when he used to work at Old Navy for a long time, and he has a lot of interesting stories from when he worked there. But there was this one woman one time who got so mad that she couldn't get like a certain sales price on these pair of jeans that she took them into the fitting room and shat on them.
Oh, shit.
Just a giant turd on the jeans and walked out.
Damn.
People be crazy.
Interesting.
So one time I was working at Panera, and we had a toilet that was fucked up, making all these crazy noises, and I go up there to check on it. Naturally, the first thing you do is you take the tank off, right? So the tanks or the lid off the tank, right?
Yeah.
Somebody had taken a shit in their underwear, and I guess they panicked, and there was no trash can in the stall, but it was a community bathroom. And so I guess they panicked. So they took the lid off the freaking tank and threw the underwear in there. And then when the next person went to go flush it, it got like caught halfway in the top and the bottom. So it was making this crazy noise as water's trying to rush against it. And it's just shitty water just coming into the toilet nonstop.
Oh, God.
Like, oh.
I don't understand. I don't understand who these people are.
Have you ever shit your pants?
There is
past childhood.
Listen.
One of my stories on a Nerd T was about how I pooped my pants.
Maybe you're a kid.
Yeah.
I am a sufferer of IBS, and even I will never poop my people who are like, I almost shit myself. There is no almost shitting. There is no scenario where pooping yourself is gonna happen. You will bite your teeth. You will do whatever you can. You will dig your fingers into your thigh. But there is no defeat, my friend. You will not poop yourself. So who are these people?
Shit in the yard.
Who are these people?
My
who are pooping themselves?
My brother-in-law Travis, his best friend Cully, has, as an adult, shat himself on numerous occasions. One of the stories that I know about was he didn't want to wait till, he was trying to wait until commercial because he didn't want to miss what was happening on an American Idol. And he literally shat
American Idol?
Yeah.
While he was in his house?
Yes. Shit his pants.
This reminds me.
My spouse. Kill them.
This reminds me. I can talk about this because I don't give a fuck. My ex-wife, her father had IBS, and he had. There was this one night where he got back from his walk that he had to cut short because he got hit by an episode. So he was like rushing into the house and waddling like he do with, trying to keep the cheeks pinched. And he's going, oh. And as he was waddling through the house, bear in mind, there's a bathroom upstairs, but he lived in the basement. So he was waddling all the way to the basement. And as he was walking, there were turds rolling out of his shorts. And then the dog started to eat them.
Oh, my God. Oh,
no.
It's not funny anymore.
No.
It's not funny anymore. All right.
Yeah. So.
Last poop story. I was at Home Depot a couple of weeks ago, and you've seen like people play this prank. I've never actually seen somebody actually do it. There was like an 8-year-old kid taking a shit on one of the display toilets.
Oh my god.
I thought it was a prank too, but like I guess like a Home Depot employee went over there and was like, "Hey, are you okay, buddy? Are you lost? Or what are you doing?" He's like, "Yeah, my dad said that the bathrooms were in the back corner."
Oh, poor guy.
And like he goes, "Yeah, there's a door right there on the other side that says men, and that's where you go." And he turned beet red, and at that moment I knew, like, oh my god, he just shit in this freaking display toilet, and it was completely innocent. Completely innocent.
Poor
what do
guy.
you think? How do you think employees clean those up? What do you think the protocol is?
I mean,
for when that happens?
probably scoop it out, and then what do you think? What do you think?
Do you think they get rid of the toilet? Do you think they try to sell it? Do you think what do they
it's
do?
the display. They wait till the last second to sell it anyway.
And also, like, how do you scoop it out? Where do you scoop it to? Like, a human feces is pungent and big.
Just do it, man. Like, what do you... Exactly how you imagine it is probably how it happened.
It's probably terrible. Maybe they get like a big shop vac.
I would just save it for the morning crew.
I wouldn't put that in a shop vac. Just get some paper towels and do it the old-fashioned way.
They just throw it
paper
away.
Towels? What if your fingers broke through the paper towel?
Gloves,
you've got...
dude. Gloves.
Also, you have to think that there's like
a retail store like that will have gloves to wear.
But there's no plumbing connected. So if the poop is in the drain,
you gotta lift it up.
Someone's got to pick the toilet up and
you gotta shimmy it through. But then you got street
I'm not saying
marks.
It's not a situation. I'm just saying how you imagine it is probably how it happened. I don't think that there's anything to figure out here.
I understand that the cleanup depends on the shit, but it's definitely a shitty situation.
God.
Oh my Lanta.
It just keeps getting worse.
All right. Well, before we digress anymore, as we said at the top, tonight's topic is Tron 3 and the news surrounding it that just broke. Again, we are the Nerdosphere. You can find us at Nerdosphere Cast on Twitter, at Nerdosphere, Facebook.com/Nerdosphere, and you can search our group out in the Facebook group section. Just search the Nerdosphere. So, we've got some news that have hit the webs about the long in development limbo Tron 3. And it seems like the initial rumors of the Tron 3 sequel are going to be true. So, let's jump into what it's going to be.
I got to set the stage real quick. I need our audience to understand some context here before they listen to this part. One of the Nerdosphere's most popular episodes ever was before I joined the cast, and it was you guys talking about Tron Legacy and how near and dear it is to your heart. So I think it's important for the audience to know that you guys really have a vested interest in Tron. Like it's truly one of those IPs that you guys love. And for our listeners who can't see right now, like Corbin's got it playing in the background and he's got toys galore in his arms right now.
And this is the coolest thing. This is actually a present from Clayton, which every once in a while you get a present from someone that's like, it hits you in the feels. This is a framed piece of film from the original Tron movie. Like,
oh, that's cool.
This is probably the coolest thing that I have. And Clayton got it for me. But Tron is one of the most seminal IPs to my nerd DNA that there is. And like Tim said, that episode was also about what Tron 3 could be and what it should be. And
in that we discussed the rumors that I guess are going to end up being true.
Yeah, back then it was Jared Leto being rumored. And
so let's jump into, Tim, why don't you Can you read the news break for us? Do you have it?
Yeah. I've got to pull it up here, but the breaking news that came out today is Tron Legacy, the third one, is now in development, as you mentioned, and it has been confirmed that Jared Leto is going to be starring in the film. They also named the director. I'm having a hard time pulling it up right now. It's somebody who I personally don't know.
It's Garth Davis.
Garth Davis. Apparently, he did something called Tigers that's either coming out or is getting a lot of hype. But it does look like the film's moving forward at this point. They did peg a new leading man for it. At this point, we don't know if any of the recast from Tron Legacy is coming back. We don't know if it's a reboot. We don't know a whole lot. We just know that another Tron movie is coming.
I would say that because so many pieces that we know now align with the stupid rumors of yesteryear, I would say that it's a soft reboot.
Yeah. Corbin, why don't you dive into what those rumors were? Because they did involve bringing Jared Leto on.
Jared Leto was going to play a new character in a program called Ares. It was going to, as they put it, be a spiritual successor of the source code of Tron. So it'd be a reinterpretation and a soft reboot of the franchise. And it'd be a totally new take and story avenue. It would have nothing to do with what Tron Legacy was setting up or what it was. At that time, there was no director to be rumored. But yeah, they're just going to go a completely different direction. And I don't want to rehash that podcast too much, but one of the most frustrating things is, again, the mentality of that soft reboot was coming from a place that just didn't make sense. They were treating it like Tron 2, like Tron Legacy bombed, when in actuality, it didn't bomb. It beat out the other summer blockbusters of that year, which were The Dark Knight Returns and Star Trek. And it turned in a huge profit for what its budget was. The problem is that it wasn't a $1 billion maker like the Pirates of the Caribbean. And again, as Tron 3 was kind of like being pushed through and felt out, things like Tomorrowland were bombing, but Marvel was picking up speed. And at this time, Disney had acquired them and released Avengers, which really showed them what a $1 billion franchise could be. And they just stopped greenlighting anything that wasn't almost a guaranteed billion. When that doesn't mean that Tron Legacy was a failure. It just didn't break the $1 billion, but it was a success on every level. And it's just annoying. When Tim told me this morning that the news broke and I saw the article, I felt sick to my stomach, because Tron Legacy did a phenomenal job at paying homage to what came before, but reinvigorating new life and showing what it could evolve into. And it's like it's the perfect sequel you can ask for that's like 20 years later, in my opinion. You can just tell that John loved making this movie. I thought the cast was phenomenal, and it was set up for so many cool stories to be told, as far as like, what does it mean when an ISO breaks out into the real world? Do they have the same kind of powers that a user has when they go into the digital world? Like, there's just so many cool things to tell. And at the end of the day, Tron Legacy still only talked about a closed grid. We haven't even explored what the internet could look like.
What a more modern grid could look like.
Because again, it was an isolated server, so we don't even know what other servers could possibly look like.
Developed in the late 80s.
And the one thing I want to make sure that I say, and I don't forget, is the way that this article pre-framed this director of Garth Davis.
Stop tapping your desk. Sorry,
frustrated me, because I guess he's an upcoming director. He's like really making a name for himself in the indie scene and is becoming, acclaimed with awards and stuff. And part of the reason why Disney nabbed this guy is because they are hoping that he appeals to like traditional cinephiles. So they're bringing in like other like newer people that maybe wouldn't have normally gravitated towards this franchise. And what annoys me about that is I don't need an indie award-winning director to legitimize this movie. Tron as an IP was already legitimized in the 80s from no names. The people who made the first Tron, their only experience in film were making animated shorts for the Olympics at the time.
Yeah,
like there were no one, and they figured out how to make special effects by
we wouldn't have computer effects if it wasn't for Tron. They were the first movie to do computer animated effects in a movie. They were the frontiersmen of that.
It just annoys me that Disney is making some sort of move to try to make it seem like Tron needs to be, I guess, legitimized or given more substance when it already has been. Like, it's a staple in cinema history, whether you like it or not. It just really frustrates me.
Well, Tron Legacy 2 came out on the heels of Avatar, and it pushed the 3D technology even further. So it on its own is a technological achievement. Like, basically everything in Tron Legacy is computer generated, computer animated. And it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's aged so well.
Yeah, and Corbin mentioned on a cast we did a couple months ago that it was the first legit movie that toyed with the concept of de-aging somebody digitally.
Yep.
Which is now like a huge part of movies that we've seen, for better or for worse. It's here.
Yep. Yeah, and they were the first ones to really do it the way we see it in Marvel movies now.
So it just annoys me that with all those accolades, it doesn't get the respect that it deserves.
Yeah. There's nothing quite like... So seeing it in theaters was an experience that is... Seeing it at home is much different than seeing it in theaters. In theaters, you sit, the opening sequence is all normal. As soon as he goes into the grid, everything's in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. It was such a good theater experience. Anyways, I just thought of that.
Yeah. So I just really wanted to bring up the fact that they were hiring this director as some sort of statement when the people who care about Tron don't give two fucks about some up and coming indie director to bring some sort of substance to the film. I don't care. That he's not going to bring a voice that I feel like is missing from the franchise. We have it. John brought a voice to Tron that it needed, and he wanted to direct the third. The last report we even got from Disney where they were talking about with Daft Punk trying to make them come aboard the third, at that point in time, the entire original cast and John all wanted to come back.
Yep.
So it does not make sense to me why you would bring on this indie director and Jared Leto. Who,
well,
like, even though Jared Leto...
Garrett Hedlund is amazing in this movie. He's such a good leading actor. And I don't understand the fascination with Jared Leto.
I was just about to say.
He's treated like this big deal. I don't think he's a big deal. He's not really in a whole lot. And what he's in, I don't feel like...
is good.
I mean,
he has an Oscar for the Bryce Dallas Club or whatever it's called.
Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, Dallas Buyers Club.
But more times than not, he's garbage. I don't understand. And it just really annoys me because
his Joker is terrible.
It's so bad.
It's terrible.
Again, it's another grab at trying to legitimize it of like, we have this new director, we have this award-winning actor lead, like Tron can be something. Tron was already something. You're just too big of an idiot to realize what you had.
So this is this I think shows a much bigger issue than just Tron. So Star Wars is another example. Disney does not know what they're doing right now. They are not delivering, aside from letting Marvel do what they want. They are not delivering on good movies.
And honestly, you can say that that's because Marvel, like the creative heads that are still integral to the DNA of Marvel Studios were the ones who launched it before Disney. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think Disney should get really any credit for Marvel. The only thing that they have is the fact they gave them a blank checkbook. But all the people who are in charge of Marvel Studios were the ones who launched the studio. So I mean, I would agree. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. So remind me of the Disney CEO's name. I'm brain farting.
Bob Iger.
Yeah, Bob Iger. So I've got a lot of respect for him. Anytime in interviews, he says the right things and he makes me think you understand. But then we get more decisions like this, you know? So I don't know if it's just they saw Marvel do such a good job that they like let Kathleen Kennedy do her own thing at Lucasfilm and it backfired, or if that's the deal, or if it's just that everybody else is making bad decisions, because this just screams The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker to me. It's just all the wrong choices. Just the sheer fact that we're not trying to get back John Krasinski as the
it's not Krasinski, but it's close to it.
I'm sorry.
It's like it's a weird name, but it's like Krasinski.
Yeah. Anyways, he did Oblivion. He's doing the new Top Gun. He is a great director, cinematic director. They don't even seemingly try to get him back when he's expressed interest. They're not bringing back. They're not continuing the story. Like, I don't understand soft reboots when there's no reason to soft reboot. That just screams to me that executives don't know what the audience wants.
I mean, the story, John, we should remind everybody how Tron Legacy ended, in case it's been a while since you guys have seen it, but it ended in a really intriguing place. And you kind of teased it, like what happens if one of them gets out. But can one of you guys just kind of recap how Tron Legacy ended for people who haven't seen it in a while?
Yeah. So the whole point of Tron Legacy was Clue's idea, who was the program that Flynn built to help him maintain the grid, was to essentially invade IRL. He wanted to take his fleet of ships and invade the real world and basically create the perfect system inside and out of the grid. The way that Tron Legacy ends is Flynn reassimilates with Clue, which ends up killing them both, and Flynn Jr. Sam escapes the grid.
You call yourself a fan.
I'm sorry, I'm worked up and I've had 2 White Claws. Sam escapes the grid with Olivia Wilde's ISO, and it just kind of ends with them like riding off in the sunset of her, like she's in the real world, and they're basically like figuring out what's going to happen next. We also have we had so many teases, and not only in the movie but in the special features too, because again, this was back in the day where like there is subplots that are released in special features. The guy that played the Scarecrow and is on Peaky Blinders, what's his name? It's a weird name. It's like Cillian Murphy. He played Dillinger's son in the movie. Dillinger is the bad guy from the first Tron. And he has a very brief cameo. A star like that, again, this was like coming off of Inception and The Dark Knight.
Yeah, he was huge at the time.
An actor like that, to have that kind of cameo, means he's being set up for a layup. And when the special features came out on the Blu-ray, there are dialogue scenes of him talking to the MCP 2.0. So the MCP, who is the main AI villain from the first film, was going to be a menacing presence in the next film, along with Dillinger's son. And we had these other concepts of ISOs being IRL, not knowing what that means and how that could entail, and also a desire of still seeing some sort of invasion scheme successfully happening. So Clue's vision happening through someone else's endeavors.
Well, we also had all the little kind of underground documentary looking special features that were Save Kevin Flynn, or isn't that what it was? Or Kevin Flynn lives, yeah. With the hashtag Flynn lives, and Sam was taking his company back over, and so it was like guerrilla marketing in the special features, setting up the universe for more story. There was more story to be told.
Not to mention, at the very end, Tron purifies himself. So they were setting
A
it
lot
up
of
to where
cliffhangers.
Tron was actually going to be in the third movie. If I have one negative for Tron Legacy as a fanboy,
Billy Baxton ain't coming back. They burned that bridge.
Bruce
Isn't that his name?
Boxleader, you mean?
Yeah, whatever.
Bruce Boxleader. As a fan,
same difference.
As a fanboy, my only criticism of Tron Legacy is the fact that Tron was Rensler the entire time, because he's the namesake. He is, aside from Flynn, he is what drives it. He is the hero of heroes. I mean, I like that he was bad. I figured out that he was Rensler from the toys because of the little T or whatever. But
yeah. So the moral of the story with how Tron Legacy ended, the world was wide open and there were tons of intriguing storylines left over. It wasn't ended in a way that was universally hated. It wasn't ended with a closed book where it's time to look at something different.
Right.
Like, it was left off. Fans that watched the movie were excited for the next chapters. Like, it was a pretty universally loved ending from what I can see. And then for them just to go and take a Sharpie and just cross it out and start over.
Yeah.
It's really mind-blowing.
So strange. I mean, like Corbin said, it suffers from bad timing as far as the movie market goes, as to why it didn't get a sequel until now. But it just,
for those who don't know,
so strange.
The big release that came out right after this, it came out about a year and a half later, was Disney's biggest flop of all time, probably, and John Carter. Right. And I think from what I've seen, that's what really killed all of the momentum for
and then Tomorrowland was after that.
So
right?
It was just bad movie after bad movie, and
Lone Ranger was out around that time too, right? All of these were bombing.
It's annoying because they had all these new IPs that were bombing, and they treated Tron like it was a new IP when it was an established IP that, again, was a financial success. And of the time, it was still top tier. Like, even Disney at the time wasn't operating thinking that all their movies were going to be the successes of Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Like, the fact that it beat out Batman and Star Trek is fucking huge. For a 20-year-old sequel to come out of nowhere and beat out one of the most long-running IPs in film history with Star Trek, and one of the biggest pop culture icons, Batman. I mean, that is a monumental achievement. Like, anyone who's looking at that should see there is such potential here to just continue blowing it up if it's beating these things.
Well, we kind of touched on it at a couple podcasts, I think, too, and we just briefly touched on this. Disney Plus has opened up so many avenues. Like, why does another Tron movie have to be this huge summer blockbuster commitment where Disney execs feel like they have to soft reboot it to make their billion? Like, why can't it be a limited series? Why can't it be a Disney Plus direct movie? Why can't it be an ongoing series? Like, why do we feel?
I think it's for the best. So I would say the series, I would be all in on that. After seeing The Mandalorian and how great that is, I have confidence that they can make a great series. But the Disney Plus original movies, I don't know how many of them you guys have watched. I have yet to see one where I was like, dang, that was a good movie. It seems like they're all B-level movies that I probably wouldn't have wanted to go see in theaters anyway.
Yeah, but think about how Netflix original movies started.
Yeah, it's true.
And kind of where they're at now. Like, it's still hit or miss, but there are some really good Netflix movies, and it's taken them, and Netflix original series, but it's taken them quite some time to build up I don't know if it's, the money required or just the accolades to bring people who are actually interested. So I would, and Disney Plus has only been out for not even a year, right? We're not even into a year yet, because my first year's thing is not up. So I would give it time. I completely agree that none of the movies have even interested me. I don't think I've watched one Disney Plus original movie.
You aren't missing much.
But that's not to say that the opportunity is not there. You know what I mean? Like, why, when you have this new avenue, why is the decision to soft reboot an entire franchise when you have lore and worlds and
Mhm.
people who want to come back and do it. It just baffles me.
It's very interesting timing as well. So take a huge step backwards and just look at the landscape. The types of movies that are coming out that people are excited about right now seem to kind of be in the same realm as Tron. So we're going to get Matrix 4, which
Yeah,
the Matrix has a very similar feel to Tron in some ways, right?
right.
They just announced that the second Ready Player One book is coming out and it's already signed a big movie deal, right? And the Oasis is a parallel to Tron.
Right.
So it seems like this is the next big thing, is moving back into this environment.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting for me is this is the time where I would feel like Disney was not willing to take very many risks, given the overall environment of movies right now and how much money Disney has lost over the past year.
Yeah.
COVID has completely derailed Disney. It's completely derailed. The theme park is bleeding money. They haven't been able to release Mulan. They've decided, in case anybody hasn't kept up with the news, last week they came out and said they are going to release Mulan in September, straight to Disney Plus, video on demand, and it's a $30 fee to watch it. Now they did something really smart here. They said that if you rent it video on demand, you own it for as long as you have the Disney Plus subscription. So you own it, but you don't own it because you have to keep paying the monthly subscription. I think that's genius, but that's another topic for another time. It seems like this would not be the time that Disney would want to take any risk in the near future. I feel
Right.
like this would be the time where Disney doubles down on the next phase of Marvel. We still haven't even gotten Black Widow yet. So it's really interesting timing for them to come out and attach a big name star who you know is going to get paid for the role in the midst of financial turmoil.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely strange, man. Like, and after all the talk of everything that's happening, as far as it being in limbo, why is this coming out now? Like, it's just so strange to me.
It's very odd. Everything Disney's been excited about has been delayed at this point. Winter Soldier, I think Winter Soldier was supposed to come out in August. That's delayed at this point. The only Disney property at this point that looks like it's on track is The Mandalorian. And the only reason it's on track is because they were ahead of COVID and most of the recording was already done.
They were
right?
done with season 2 and they had started on season 3 before COVID even hit. So
Yep. That's the only saving grace they have coming out this year is The Mandalorian.
Yep. So, for the audience who's listening, we lost Corbin. His Zoom crashed.
That's okay. While you're trying to get him in, I want to talk about a book real quick. I want to go ahead and do my mid-roll ad.
Okay, go for it.
So for all of our listeners who haven't taken us up on our offer for Audible, you're crazy. You're crazy because Audible is probably my favorite paid app at this point. I'm back into audiobooks. I kind of took a break there for a couple of months during COVID. Really wasn't finding a lot that was interesting me. And over the past 2 months, it seems like I'm getting great book after great book. So if you guys have ever thought about checking out Audible, you guys need to go to our website first. So go to nerdosphere.com. We have a special offers tab, and it's got a direct link for you straight to Audible. And our listeners right now are getting a free audiobook. And if you're already an Amazon Prime member, you get 2 free audiobooks. So there's really no reason not to try it. If you don't want to go to our website, you can go to audibletrial.com/the Nerdosphere. Again, audibletrial.com, and then type in the keyword, which is nerd. Sorry about that. But the book that I'm listening to, it's good that Corbin's not on right now because he's already said that he hates the book. But it's completely blowing me away. It's a classic. It's J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. It's a book that a lot of people read in high school or college that just escaped me for all of these years. I've been looking for a book that kind of makes you think. The last book that I recommended to you guys was The Kite Runner, and that book is just filled with all kinds of emotions, and it's beautifully written, and it changes your perspective on people. And then you get to Catcher in the Rye, and it does the exact same thing, but it really focuses in on that teenager angst that we all felt. It's conversational, it's beautiful, it's depressing and dark. It is a great book. It's everything everybody's talked about. Like for years, it's hyped as one of the best books of all time. It's really that good. It's that good. So guys, head on over to audibletrial.com/nerd. Grab a copy of Catcher in the Rye if you're looking for something to listen to. It's poetic. And it's a beautiful book. So head on over there right now. And if you don't want to listen to that, that's fine. Still take us up on our offer. Go check out any of their books. There's more books than I can even count on Audible right now. You guys can grab Ready Player One, which is a book that both of us have just finished binging. I've listened to it multiple times. And I think that's the real test of a great book, is an audio book that you want to listen to more than once. And Ready Player One, Catcher in the Rye, The Kite Runner, some of these recommendations I've made over the past month all fit that mold. So if you guys are looking for something to listen to, go over to Audible.
I really utilize Audible too for like huge books.
Mm-hmm.
So a book that would cost, The Wheel of Time, for instance, The Wheel of Time got me into Brandon Sanderson, who is the author that they brought on to finish Robert Jordan's work after he passed away. He finished he was brought on to finish the last book. They broke it up into 3 books, so he ended up writing 3 books. Anyways, I got into his fantasy novels, and we're talking 30 to 50 hour. I think the Stormlight Archives, the newest one, was like 60 or 70 something hours. Like, it is a monster. And I got it for, the monthly price of Audible, which I'm getting it for like, what, 7 something. And
yeah,
it's amazing.
Usually Audible's like $15 a month, but they've got specials all the time where it's
I'm
buy
getting
3
it
months
for
right now for $8 a month. And I mean,
right.
so you can catch a deal all the time on Audible.
I've got it right now for like half off, so I think I'm paying 7 something. But anyways, like, we're talking, and you get one so with an Audible subscription, not only do you, with the free trial, do you get your 1 or 2 free books. If you're in Amazon Prime, you get 2 books. So there's 2 books right there, free. So a 70-hour fantasy novel, we're talking $50.
Mm-hmm.
You getting it for free.
I've talked to people that scoff at that idea of like, how would you pay $50 for a book? It's like, well, you gotta think about it a little differently, right? So before streaming was a huge thing, okay, and it's not that long ago.
Yeah,
I would have spent $50 to buy a season of a show that I was really into. I was really into Dexter, and I wanted to buy the seasons of Dexter. $40-$50 a pop. You're not getting 70 hours of content when you buy a 10 or 12 season series. You're just not, right? You go buy Game of Thrones, you go buy Dexter, you're getting 12 hours, maybe 14 hours worth of content. Yep. Right. And we don't bat an eye at that, but you get 70 hours worth of audiobooks. It's a great value. Great value.
You just, like you said, you just have to think about it different, because when I first started looking at audiobooks, I was like, man, listening to this, when I was really into the Wheel of Time starting out years ago, I read them all up until like I was caught up, and I was waiting for new releases. And then I was like, I really would rather listen to these instead of rereading them when the new book comes out. And I really had to think about, okay, and at that time you didn't have a monthly thing to get songs, so you're buying like a song for $1.50. It's like 3 minutes. So it's like, okay, well, if I multiply that by hours, then I'm actually not really paying.
Not doing bad.
Yeah, not doing bad at all. And but anyway, all that to be said is Audible is an amazing deal. Amazing. Not only do you get the 2 free books, so I've really utilized it to get large books that I wouldn't normally want to pay maybe that hefty price tag for, and it's allowed me to kind of expand on some things that I maybe normally wouldn't have gotten into, like the Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson, which is a huge, dense, long fantasy series. So anyways, it's worth it, I mean, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, and then keep in mind, COVID's
and they let
crazy.
you listen to it for a while. Like, I got, not to interrupt you, sorry, but I used one of my credits for the H.P. Lovecraft Complete Edition, and I got like 3 stories in, and I was like, so like an hour or 2 in, I was like, this is not for me. I'm not digging this. It's boring. I'm falling asleep. you know,
Mm-hmm.
I returned it and got something different. Like no questions asked. I'm hours into the audiobook. No questions asked. Returned it, got my credit back, downloaded something else.
Yeah, and you don't even have to call anybody to
Awesome.
do that.
No, it's all from the app.
Do it all from the app. It's that easy. Think about COVID. I'm a parent. You're a parent. Trying to keep your kids entertained is difficult during quarantine. Trying to
Mhm.
get my kids to read has been difficult during quarantine.
Yeah.
Harry Potter books on Audible have been a godsend for us, right? Because they're enthralled with the stories, and Jim Dale's going to read it 10 times better than I can.
Right.
100. He's going to do it a million times better than I can. And they're still getting literature. So it's,
Yeah.
I mean, you just start applying it across the board, man. Audible is legit.
That's a great point too, man, because some of my fondest memories are like sitting up in my grandparents' like fancy den. So they growing up in we had a large house. We lived with our grandparents. Like several like each of us had our own bedroom. Anyways, we had a family room, a den, a full basement, a kitchen, a dining room, and then we also had this like formal den basically that nobody ever went in. We would go in there and my grandpa would read us like Where the Red Fern Grows or something like that. Those are some of my fondest memories. So like that's kind of like the modern updated version of because I'm not gonna read it as good as my grandpa. Like you said, you're not gonna read it as good as Tim Daly. Is that what you said his name was?
Jim Dale.
Jim Dale. So like that's just kind of a modern version of let's build some memories listening to this amazing narration of this story, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, it's been great for us on road trips too. You know,
yeah.
you take your kids on a road trip and you're trying to get them entertained. You don't want to be on the tablet. You don't want to watch movies nonstop. Throw an audiobook on that you enjoy too. And I mean, it's good memories, like you said, for sure.
Yeah. And we're back. We've got Corbin back with us after some technical difficulties. Corbin, was there any other thoughts that you'd like to touch on since you missed out on just a little bit there?
That I'm pissed, and this is a garbage move, and it is a move that is meant to make the shareholders happy instead of the fans who are actually paying in to the films. Those who buy into Tron do not care about this whatsoever, and it is a corporate move. It is old Hollywood being their dumb, thick-headed skulls, and I hate it. It frustrates me because while there are redeeming qualities with the new Star Wars trilogy, love it, hate it. It 100% is a missed opportunity, but there are things to like about it. Things like Kylo and Rey are phenomenal characters that we at least got them, right?
Yeah.
This move on a property that has already taken so long to get off the ground again is going to be a nail in the coffin, right? Like it's going to, I only see going one of two ways. It's going to not meet expectations, and Tron is forever dead, which is a crime in and of itself.
Yeah.
Or someone's going to deem it a success, and I'm not going to like it. I'm not trying to sound like stubborn, but everything about this movie, I don't care I don't care for the direction they're going. I don't care for the driving creative force. What's propelling them forward to want to make this movie is all the wrong reasons. Tron Legacy was a labor of love. Tron Legacy was a love letter to Tron, saying, "We thank you for being what you were. I'm taking the torch, and we're taking it to the next generation." This next movie, it doesn't care about Tron, and that's what frustrates me about soft reboots of this nature. You're taking a property and you're making something new out of it because it has value, but you're treating it like it didn't, and it's like an oxymoron in and of itself. But I guess
I don't want to like over ramble, but that's kind of like where my feelings are. It's a disingenuous take for the film, and it's I just feel icky about it, man. And it makes me sad because it's going to be a missed opportunity. It's a missed opportunity, is what it is. Like I feel like I lose no matter what as a fan of the property.
Yeah, definitely. It's just so. I mean, we've said it several times, but it's just so weird. So I guess
I'm glad you brought Star Wars up. Sorry, Clayton.
No, you're fine.
I'm glad you brought Star Wars up because that would be my final thought. This move feels like The Last Jedi's about to happen again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you get like
they didn't learn anything.
Yeah, like you get somebody who just doesn't care about the fans and the love that they grew for Luke Skywalker, and you bring in the hot director that didn't have a ton of big films under his belt yet, and Rian Johnson, and you just get a movie that shit all over the IP. And I hope I'm wrong, but it feels like The Last Jedi.
Yeah, it does.
100%.
So just trying to look at, because we haven't said anything positive. There's not much positive to say, unfortunately. Disney
I'd rather have nothing.
I agree. I'd rather have nothing than a Jared Leto movie that has nothing to do with the other two. Now,
maybe we get lucky and he's like the bad guy.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, we don't know a whole lot of details yet. There is still hope that just because Jared Leto is starring doesn't mean that we won't get the other cast returning, doesn't mean that it won't tie in somehow. So let's just keep our fingers crossed, and that just because Jared Leto is attached to star doesn't mean that we're going to get the shitty rumored story from 7 or 8 years ago. Or 3 years ago. I over-exaggerate sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in a perfect world, what was his name? Cillian Murphy? Maybe they just had to recast him. Maybe he said, "Nah, I'm out. I'm too busy. Jared's the new Cillian, and you're going to go down the same path." I mean, I think that would be a direction that's worth exploring. But if you're signing up as the lead man and the whole movie's going to evolve around him, it doesn't seem very appetizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we said before, I'm just not a fan of Jared Leto, man. It saying he's starring just turns me off. Like I'm just can't get behind it.
I also want to say this. I don't want to sound snobbish in the sense of like, I kind of liken it almost like to Rick and Morty, where like if you don't like Rick and Morty, it's because you just don't get it. Like it's the humor is too highbrow for you. If you didn't like Tron Legacy, there's no way you like the original Tron, and there's no way you're going to like whatever else they do if it's anywhere close to what Tron is supposed to be. So again, it's just not understanding the market or the audience that would actually buy into this.
Yeah.
Like that it's a move to try to get new viewers, but I don't know, if you didn't like Tron Legacy, why would you like whatever else you do with Tron?
Well, the problem is if you go too far to try to get new viewers and you alienate the old viewers, you kind of fuck yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
like you're not going to make 400 million on this next movie if all of those ticket sales don't show up because you've alienated them.
It's like the Ghostbusters reboot. It was a movie. I'm not saying that those who were involved with reboot weren't passionate about that film and didn't pour their heart and souls into it. But at the end of the day, it was a gimmick. It was a movie to be made for namesake. They wanted to have a female-led reboot. They wanted to throw away what made Ghostbusters so unique and make it stand on its own 2 feet. They took the name that was marketable and wanted to put everything new in it, hoping that it would just sell. And they got their just desserts. The fans don't want that. So we're getting a return to form. We're getting the new Ghostbusters, which is a true spiritual successor to the 80s films. It's being written and directed by the son of the original director. It's going to be a love letter. Those are the kind of sequels that fans want. They don't want companies to just be taking the names of flagship titles and just shoving whatever they want to into that namesake and saying, you're going to buy it because this, because we're smarter than that. The audience is smarter than that.
Yeah.
I will say, I know we're trying to wrap up here, but I will say that's kind of what we got with Halloween, and it kind of worked though. Just saying, there are examples out there where somebody can say, you know what, taking a completely different spin on everything, and they're going to like it because they like the lore, they like the IP, and it worked for Halloween. So
Well,
maybe
to counter that a little bit though, they ignored all of the fat and they got back to true form. So that would be like saying, okay, now in a couple of years we've got 3 Jared Leto terrible Tron movies. Somebody comes along and says, hey, those don't exist. This is a direct sequel to Tron or Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
So while I agree with your point, I think that
you could get
it
same
maybe
situation.
makes our point even more prominent.
Fingers crossed that if the Leto movies are awful, that you can get a Halloween reboot. Halloween style reboot. How about that?
Another Halloween movie.
I just think that this is what a strange time we're living in, right? Where you have this corporate Hollywood just spitting out shit, hoping that they'll make money, and when they don't, they come back and they act like it doesn't exist. Like, only in today's world could you get away with that. Like, think about back in the 80s, the 70s. Can you imagine coming out with like a Back to the Future 4, for example, and it just bombed? Like, they changed everything, it bombed, and then Back to the Future 5 comes out and they're like, nope, 4 didn't happen. Like that, you can't get away with that back then.
No, because it was the old boys network, like Corbin was talking about. You couldn't stab your boss or your company or your best friend in the back by saying, yeah, we're going to ignore his shitty movie.
Right.
We're going to go back to something that's actually good.
Now it's like you could ignore whatever you want or make whatever you want trying to make money, no matter how shitty it is. They just need to learn that, like Corbin said, the audience is smarter than they think. And we've brought this up several times across the life of this podcast, but what we call old Hollywood, which is still Hollywood today, unfortunately, just needs to fucking learn that the customer is always right.
Yep.
So stop trying to overthink it, or I don't know, sell some stupid message, or just trying to make something new. This happens all the time in media today too. Like, why can't we just make something new? You want to make a story about a digital universe with Jared Leto? Okay. Make it new. Why do you have to take a property and destroy it to make it work?
I just heard this weird purring noise, and I look up down at Corbin. He gets a cat and just like chucks the cat across the room.
It's gone.
Oh man.
But that's where I'm at. You know, like,
I feel the same way.
I just don't understand. Like Miles Morales, he's turned into a good character. I will admit that. I like Miles Morales now. When Miles Morales was created, I was in the same boat. Why not make something new? When we gender bend or race bend, this is going to be controversial, but it stands true. Why are we so beholden on stories and properties that have been around for decades? Why are we so scared of developing new things? I don't understand.
It's funny you say that because
I don't understand.
It can be a controversial take, but I have seen well-spoken arguments to the point of it cheapens the statement that those characters, those representations can't stand on their own.
Exactly.
If
they should be able to.
Yeah.
Make something that stands on its own, that sells the message or story you want to tell.
Yeah.
Stop stealing current property and making it into a cash grab or a hollow statement.
It's true.
So frustrating. I want new stories. I desperately want new stories. So take that the right way, please. I want new stories. I don't want to see a reboot of take your pick. As I'm going to take this property that's already been around for 10 years and like make it my own. Well, why don't you just make your own?
Yeah.
Shit.
I agree.
Anyways.
Look, the whole rabbit hole of just issues because of Tron.
Issues.
All because
All
of
right.
Leto.
Well, I think that does it for this week's The Nerdosphere. We're sorry for the complaining, if you take it that way, for the negativity, if you take it that way. We just really feel passionate about this property, and we feel that it should be done right. And we hope that you understand and that you agree. Remember, you can find us on social medias everywhere. Twitter at NerdosphereCast. Facebook, facebook.com/Nerdosphere. We're on Instagram, even though we don't really use it, but you could find us there. If TikTok doesn't get banned, you can probably find us on TikTok in the future.
Oh, you'll for sure find us there if it doesn't get banned. I've got ideas, boy.
So remember, you can find our group community over at Facebook groups. Just search for the Nerdosphere. We've got a really nice community there going.
Lots of activities.
Lots of activities. We got a 5K coming.
We've hit a new stride too with engagement.
Yeah. If you're interested in a virtual 5K where anyone can participate no matter where you're at, you get a shirt, you get community encouragement, involvement, other stuff, plans
dope
on how to do stuff. Playlists.
All kinds of great stuff.
We're going to do a cool thing. It's going to be the first one. We're going to do it every year.
Couch to 5K plan. So if you're not a runner, we're going to hook you up with a plan so you guys know what to do.
Listen, if
you just want the shirt, it's going to be worth it. Shirt is dope as fuck.
The shirt is nice.
Check out our
I'm
Patreon.
The barometer. If I can run a 5K, you can run a 5K.
Yeah, Corbin. If Corbin can run a 5K, anybody can run a 5K.
Take that to the bank.
Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Nerdosphere. We got a lot of stuff going on there. Week 2 of our Ready Player One book club is coming up later this week. There's still time to get in on that book club because we're probably going to meet at least one more time. Let's say Tim, maybe twice, before we start another book, which we're, if you're a patron, you can vote on what book we're going to do next. We got a watch party planned coming up. Have we rescheduled that yet, Corbin, or are we going to do a different movie?
Probably do a different movie this time.
Yeah, so we'll move on to a
next movie. We're probably going to do Ready Player One.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We'll do Ready Player One to wrap up the book club. But yeah, we've got all kinds of good ideas for movies, and most importantly, for our patrons, use the platform and tell us what movies you want to watch. If there's something that you see on Amazon Prime or Netflix or one of the streaming agencies that you're dying to see,
and you want to watch it with a group,
yeah, man, just throw it out there on the threads, and guess what? We are not like Disney.
Patreon.com/The is your friend. We see everything that you comment, and we'd love your engagement that we're getting already, but we desperately want more of your engagement as well. We're trying to build a community that serves you, and we do that better when you are vocal. So let us know what you want to do. Let us know what book you want to do in the next book club. Let us know what trivia topics you'd like to see. Let us know what movies you'd like to do in the watch party. Let us know what terrible movies you'd like to see us make fun of. Because we're going to be doing riff tracks where we release us making fun of terrible movies. I really want to do Velocipaster first. I really want to
see that. So
so stay tuned for all that. Anyways, all that being said, this has been the Nerdosphere. If you like what we do, you want to support us, again, check us out at patreon.com/thenerdosphere. If you're on iTunes listening to us on Apple Podcasts, scroll down and give us a rating. We'll read. We keep saying we're going to read ratings. Let me check real quick and see if we have a new rating to read. I feel like we do since the last time we've read ratings. So give me 1 second. We do. We have a couple. So let me read. Let me read. We've got several. Thank you guys. Thank you. So I'm gonna. I know that I haven't read these. Yeah. Okay. So this one is from Matty Ice _75. Gives a 5-star rating. Fantastic as the title. This is really long, so give me a second. These three have it all. Whether you identify yourself as a nerd or not, these guys are worth a listen. Their synergy and mic chemistry is fantastic and always has me grinning. It's truly something you only get with longevity and years of friendship, and the Nerdosphere has it in spades. I love the discussion of topics not only as it relates to nerdy things, but how those things translate into adulthood and real-life responsibilities. Even if it's not always on the forefront of the topic up for discussion, the fellows bring me in with news I wasn't aware of, or how the topic itself might impact the community from so many different angles. The pod provides great entertainment, brings me great nostalgia of things that were my entire world growing up, and hearing these three have conversations is like checking in with good friends, even if I haven't met them all in person. Cheers, guys. P.S. Corbin is still the man. So, Corbin's
I think that's Matt.
It might be.
That's really nice.
But we've got a couple more reviews that I'll be reading over the next few episodes. Again, if you're on Apple Podcasts, real easy. Just scroll down, hit that 5-star rating, leave us a review. We'll read it on the podcast. We appreciate all the support. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Later.
Toodaloo.